Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are clearing off the table, putting away the minor stats, and we are tackling the big one.
The big one.
We have a stack of research here that feels a little heavier than usual because we aren't just looking at basketball statistics today, we're looking at immortality.
That is not an exaggeration at all. I mean, when you look at the list of names we are about to discuss, you are looking at the pantheon.
We are talking, of course, about the NBA Most Valuable Player Award, the MVP.
Yep.
And right off the bat, I want to define the scope here because I feel like casual fans often get this mixed up with, the Finals MVP or the All-Star MVP.
Right. It's a totally different beast.
This isn't about who had a good week in June. This isn't about who got hot in an exhibition game. This is the Marathon Award.
It absolutely is. This is the award that says for 6 months, from October to April, night in and night out, through injuries, road trips, and back-to-backs, I was better than anyone else on the planet. It measures sustained excellence over an 82-game span. It is, I think, the ultimate test of a basketball player's consistency and dominance.
And the timing for this deep dive is actually perfect because the landscape of the league has shifted right under our feet.
It really has.
We're recording this in the wake of the 2024-25 season, and we have a new king on the throne. The current holder of the award is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Which is a massive moment. I mean, it marks a changing of the guard, not just for the Thunder franchise, but for the whole profile of the player who wins this thing.
How so?
Well, Shai is a guard, he's Canadian, and he plays with a pace and a style that is very, very different from the big man dominance we saw in the few years right before him with Jokić and Embiid.
That's a great point. So our mission today is to unpack all of this. We aren't just going to read a list of winners.
No, that would be boring.
We're going to unpack the history, the weird voting anomalies, the stuff that makes you go, wait, what? And the evolution of the hardware itself.
And we have to talk about the new rules.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to look at how the rules have changed, specifically the new 65-game threshold that is literally disqualifying legends from contention, and what this award tells us about the changing face of the league.
It really is a fascinating lens to view the NBA through, because when you track the history of the MVP, you are really tracking the history of how we, as fans and media, value basketball.
That's it right there, the definition of value.
You see the shift from raw stats to winning. You see it go from centers to guards. And like we just mentioned with Shai, from a purely American game to a global phenomenon.
Okay, so let's start with the physical object, the hardware. Because for decades, if you were the absolute best player in the world, the league handed you the Maurice Podoloff Trophy.
That's right, the Podoloff. A name that, let's be honest, doesn't exactly scream basketball superstar.
Not at all. I mean, be honest. If you walked into a sports bar in, say, 2015 and asked 100 diehard fans who Maurice Podoloff was, how many are getting that right?
Oh, maybe 2. And they probably work for the league office or are just extreme history buffs.
So who was he?
Maurice Podoloff was the first commissioner of the NBA, though back then his title was actually president. He served from 1946 all the way to 1963. He was an administrator, a lawyer, a bureaucrat.
Which feels a little dry, doesn't it? Congratulations on being the most athletic, dominant, high-flying force in the world.
Here is a statue named after a lawyer who probably couldn't dribble with his left hand.
Yeah, it just feels like a disconnect.
It was certainly a product of its time. I mean, in the early days, honoring the administrative founder made sense to the people running the league. But as the game grew into this massive global entertainment product, that disconnect became glaring. The trophy didn't match the energy of the achievement.
So the league finally made a move. In the 2022-23 season, they announced a massive rebranding of the major awards.
The total overhaul.
They retired the Podoloff name from the MVP trophy and introduced the Michael Jordan trophy.
Which, let's be real, just makes a lot more sense.
It's a no-brainer.
You win the MVP, you get the trophy named after the guy who is widely considered the gold standard of basketball excellence. Michael Jordan won the award 5 times, which we will definitely get into, but his name is just synonymous with the concept of value and winning.
I've seen photos of the new trophy, and it's pretty intricate. It's not just a guy playing basketball. There's symbolism there, right?
There is, yeah. It's a bronze figure breaking out of a rock, reaching for a crystal basketball. It's meant to symbolize the struggle to reach the pinnacle.
I like that.
But what I love about this rebrand is that they didn't just erase history. They didn't just, kick Maurice Podoloff out of the history books entirely.
They just reshuffled him.
Exactly. They moved him to where he belongs, the front office.
So his name is still on a trophy.
Yep. The Maurice Podoloff name was attached to a new trophy that is awarded to the team with the best regular season record.
That is such a tidy bit of housekeeping. That's perfect. The administrator is attached to the organizational achievement, the team record.
And the player's name is attached to the individual achievement. It is a very logical, very clean alignment. It puts the player power with the players.
Speaking of player power, let's talk about who actually decides this thing, because I think a lot of listeners assume it's always been sports writers in fedoras smoking cigars in a press box.
Right, the classic image.
But the voting process has gone through some wild changes.
It has basically had three distinct eras. And the first era, Phase 1, might be the most fascinating psychological experiment in sports history.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
From the inception of the award in 1955-56 until the 1979-80 season, the MVP wasn't picked by the media.
Who picked it?
It was picked by the players.
The players voted.
Yes, the peers, the guys you were battling against every single night, were the ones filling out the ballot.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like the ultimate sign of respect. Game recognizes game. Who knows who is harder to guard than the guy trying to guard him?
That is the romantic view of it, for sure. And in some cases, it was true. But we have to remember, these are human beings. They have rivalries. They have beefs.
They have jealousy.
A lot of jealousy.
So you're saying it got petty?
Oh, it got incredibly petty. There is a famous example involving Oscar Robertson. In the 1961-62 season, Oscar Robertson became the first player to average a triple-double for an entire season.
The first ever.
30 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. Unheard of. It was like a video game stat line in real life.
And he won MVP, surely.
He finished third.
Third? You're kidding me. Who won?
Bill Russell won it, and Wilt Chamberlain was second. Now, look, Russell and Wilt had amazing seasons, but there is a very strong historical argument that Oscar just rubbed people the wrong way. He was tough, he was outspoken, he was the head of the Players Association, he wasn't necessarily the most popular guy in the locker room. So the player vote could sometimes be a popularity contest.
Or an unpopularity contest.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm not voting for that guy. He elbowed me in the throat last Tuesday.
That makes total sense. So the league saw this happening, this kind of bias.
Precisely. So seeing these biases, the league decided to make a change. Starting in the 1980-81 season, we entered Phase 2, the media era.
And that's when the writers take over.
The power shifted to a panel of sports writers and broadcasters across the United States and Canada.
Presumably to get a more objective bird's-eye view of the league.
That was the intent, to remove the direct interpersonal conflict of the locker room. Writers, in theory, are watching all the games, analyzing the narratives, and looking at the stats without the personal baggage of having to guard the guy.
But even that has its flaws, right? We talk about East Coast bias or writers favoring the guys who give good interviews.
It certainly isn't perfect. Narratives play a huge role in the media vote. A huge role. If a player has a great story, a comeback, a new team, a redemption arc, writers eat that up. But generally, it did stabilize the voting criteria.
And then they added another wrinkle recently. The fans got a voice.
Just a whisper of a voice, but yes.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, starting in 2010, the league introduced Phase 3. The fan element. It allows for one single ballot representing the collective online fan vote to be cast.
Wait. One ballot. So millions of people screaming on Twitter and Reddit, clicking buttons on the NBA website, that all counts as one guy.
One guy. It's almost entirely symbolic. It engages the fan base. It makes them feel involved. But it doesn't really swing the election.
Yeah, you need a really, really close race for that one vote to matter.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know who votes, but we need to unpack how they vote. Because this isn't a pick-one-winner system, right? It's not like a presidential election where you just tick a box.
No, and this is crucial for understanding the snubs and the close races we'll talk about. It is a weighted point system.
Let's break down the math. How does it work?
So each voter, whether they're media or the fan ballot, selects a top 5. They rank them 1 through 5.
Okay.
A first-place vote gets you 10 points. Second place gets you 7 points. Third place gets 5 points. Fourth place gets 3 points. And fifth place gets 1 point.
So consistency matters a lot. You can't just be the favorite of a few people. You need to be on everyone's radar.
Exactly. Let's say you are a very polarizing player. Maybe you are a defensive specialist who doesn't score much. Or you have a style of play that some people just hate.
Like a James Harden-type player for some fans?
A perfect example. You might get, say, 10 first-place votes from the people who absolutely love your game. That's 100 points. But if the other 90 voters leave you off their ballot entirely, you aren't going to win.
Versus the guy who maybe doesn't get as many first-place votes, but everyone agrees is, at worst, the second-best player in the league.
Right. If you accumulate enough second and third place votes, you can rack up a massive point total. This system rewards consensus. It forces the MVP to be someone that the vast majority of observers agree is elite.
That makes a lot of sense. It prevents a regional favorite from hijacking the award just because the local writers in their city went rogue and put him number one.
Correct. It forces a broader perspective.
All right, let's get into the legends, the Titans. The guys who didn't just win it once, but turned their homes into trophy cases. When we look at the history books, who is sitting at the very top of the mountain?
The record holder, the undisputed king of the MVP, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
The captain.
6 times. He won the award 6 times.
Yeah.
Just stop and think about the longevity required for that. To be the best player in the league over such a long span, it's incredible.
And he did it with different franchises, right? This wasn't just one dynastic run.
He did. He won 3 with the Milwaukee Bucks in the early 70s, and then 3 with the Los Angeles Lakers in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
But there is one season in Kareem's resume that I think is the single weirdest statistical anomaly in the history of American sports awards.
Okay, hit me. I love these weird facts.
In the 1975-76 season, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won the MVP award, despite his team not making the playoffs.
Yay, really? How is that even possible? I feel like today, if a guy's team is even the 8th seed, people scream that he has empty stats or doesn't impact winning.
It is unthinkable in the modern era. It would never happen. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander missed the playoffs this year, he wouldn't have sniffed the trophy. He wouldn't even be in the top 10.
So what was the thinking back then?
You have to look at the context of 1976. This was the first year after Kareem was traded to the Lakers. And the Lakers roster was, let's be charitable and say it was thin.
It wasn't the Showtime Lakers yet. Not even close.
Not even close. They were not good.
Mm.
But Kareem was so individually dominant. He led the league in rebounding. He led the league in blocks. And he was second in scoring. That the voters.
Who were the players back then?
Who were the players back then? Remember, they looked at that Lakers team and said, without this guy, they aren't even a professional basketball team. They might win 10 games.
So it was the ultimate definition of value. He was literally the only valuable piece on the roster.
Exactly. He was single-handedly dragging that team to respectability. So he remains the only player in history to achieve that. It is a record I feel very confident saying will never, ever be broken.
That is wild. Okay, so Kareem is at 6. Who is chasing him in the 5-timers club?
We have 2 absolute legends in that club, Bill Russell and Michael Jordan.
Russell and Jordan, the ultimate winner and the ultimate icon.
It feels right, doesn't it? The names just fit. And Bill Russell's dominance was incredibly concentrated. He won 4 of his 5 awards in a single 5-season span.
Wow.
He basically owned the late 50s and early 60s. He just blocked the lane for everyone else in the league, both literally and figuratively for this award.
And Jordan. He's the namesake of the trophy now.
And Jordan is interesting because while he won 5, many people, and I think it's a very fair argument, say he should have won 7 or 8.
Right. This brings up the concept of voter fatigue.
The dreaded voter fatigue.
We hear this term a lot. Can you explain it?
Humans get bored. It's that simple. If Michael Jordan is the best player every single year, the story gets stale for the media. Writers want to write a new headline. They want to champion a new hero.
But the bar moves for him.
It gets raised impossibly high. For Jordan to win his 4th or 5th MVP, he had to be significantly better than his previous, already legendary self. Whereas a new guy, like a Charles Barkley or Karl Malone, just had to have a career year to get the narrative on their side and steal one away.
So Jordan's 5 is actually a testament to him overcoming not just the other players on the court, but the boredom of the voters?
Absolutely. He was so good that he broke through the fatigue 5 times.
Incredible. And then we drop down to the 4-time winners. Who is on that tier?
2 physical anomalies, Wilt Chamberlain and LeBron James.
Wilt and LeBron, talk about 2 guys who were just built differently than any other human on the court.
There is a strong parallel there, for sure. And just like Bill Russell, LeBron James achieved that incredible feat of winning 4 awards in a 5-season span.
So another period of just total dominance.
From 2009 to 2013, LeBron was the undeniable center of the basketball universe. There was no real debate about who the best player was.
And LeBron also did the 2-team thing.
Right. 2 with the Cleveland Cavaliers and 2 with the Miami Heat. Wilt also split his awards, winning with the Warriors and the 76ers, which I think speaks to their transportable value. It wasn't just the system, it was them.
Okay, moving down the list. Who has 3?
The three-timers list is fascinating because it includes some of the best passing bigs and forwards in history. You have Moses Malone, who's often the forgotten giant of this list.
He doesn't get talked about enough.
Not nearly enough.
Yeah.
He won with the Rockets and Sixers. You have Larry Bird with the Celtics. You have Magic Johnson with the Lakers. And the most recent addition to this tier, Nikola Jokić.
The Joker.
Yes. Jokić secured his 3rd MVP in 2024, joining that incredibly elite company. But I want to flag Larry Bird here for a second.
Okay.
He holds a very specific distinction, along with Russell and Chamberlain. Only those 3.
What's that?
Bird is one of only 3 players to win the award in 3 consecutive years. 1984, 1985, 1986.
A 3-peat MVP. Wow. And we haven't seen that since.
We have not. And think about the chances we've had recently. Giannis went back-to-back. Steph Curry went back-to-back. Jokić went back-to-back. LeBron went back-to-back twice. But that 3rd straight one is the hardest hurdle in sports.
That voter fatigue again, it must be at its absolute peak in that 3rd year.
It is the Jordan rule applied to everyone. When Jokić was going for his 3rd straight in 2023, the narrative shifted so heavily toward Joel Embiid. And a big part of that was simply because we hadn't given it to Embiid yet.
It was his turn.
Exactly. It's his turn. Is a powerful, powerful force in MVP voting.
Now, speaking of voting weirdness, let's talk about the statistical anomalies. Because for a long, long time, there was this weird fact that no one had ever been a unanimous MVP.
Right.
Not Jordan, not Kareem, not Wilt, not LeBron in his peak.
It was one of those unwritten rules of the sport. It felt like it would never happen. Someone, somewhere, always voted for someone else. Maybe a beat writer in New York threw a pity vote to Patrick Ewing.
Or a homer vote.
A homer vote. Maybe someone in Houston voted for Hakeem. There was never 100% consensus. Until the 2015-16 season.
Stephen Curry.
The season he broke basketball. He just completely reshaped the game. The Golden State Warriors won 73 games, breaking the Bulls' all-time record.
Which everyone thought was untouchable.
Untouchable. And Curry personally made 402 three-pointers, which shattered his own record. It was such an overwhelming display of dominance that there was simply no logical argument for anyone else.
So he became the first and only unanimous MVP, every single first-place vote.
He stands alone in that category. But the tragedy, and honestly the comedy, is looking at the guys who missed it by one single vote.
A one-vote shy club. This has to be heartbreaking for those guys.
It is full of rage, and they're not shy about it. Let's take Shaquille O'Neal in the 1999-2000 season.
Peak Shaq. Just a force of nature.
He was Godzilla destroying Tokyo. There was no answer for him. He led the league in scoring with 2nd in rebounds, 3rd in blocks. The Lakers won 67 games. It was a perfect season.
And he received how many votes?
He received 120 of the 121 first-place votes.
So close. Who got the one? Who's the person that Shaq still has on a list somewhere?
It was a reporter named Fred Hickman who cast his first-place vote for Allen Iverson. Now, look, Iverson had a great year, but Shaq was historically dominant. And Shaq is still bitter about that, by the way. He brings it up on TV all the time.
I don't blame him. And LeBron had this happen too, right?
Yes, in the 2012-13 season. This was Miami LeBron at the absolute peak of his physical efficiency. He shot 56% from the field as a wing player. The Heat won 27 games in a row at one point.
Another season where there was just no question who the best player was.
Zero question. He got 120 of 121 votes.
And the lone dissenter.
A writer named Gary Washburn from Boston voted for Carmelo Anthony. His argument was that Melo meant more to the Knicks than LeBron meant to the Heat because the Heat also had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh.
I mean, I guess that's a value argument, but it feels like you're trying to be the contrarian. It feels like overthinking it.
It feels like trying to be the smartest guy in the room. And it cost LeBron that unanimous distinction in the history books.
What about rookies? We see guys like Wemby coming into the league now looking like aliens. Has a rookie ever just walked in and said, I'm the MVP of the whole league right now?
It has happened, but it is incredibly, incredibly rare. It has only occurred twice in the entire history of the league.
Only twice?
Twice. The first was Wilt Chamberlain, of course, in the 1959-60 season. He averaged 37 points and 27 rebounds as a rookie.
I mean, what do you think do with that? That's not a human stat line.
You just give him the trophy and try not to make eye contact.
And the second one.
And then Wes Unseld did it in 1968-69. He wasn't a scorer like Wilt, but he was such a rock, such a force of leadership and rebounding for the Baltimore Bullets that he won MVP on pure impact.
So it hasn't happened in over 50 years.
Not since 1969, no. The gap between college or even international play and the NBA is just too wide now. Even a generational talent like Victor Wembanyama, who had an incredible rookie year, wasn't leading his team to 50 wins. And as we know, winning is pretty much a prerequisite.
Let's talk about age. Who is the youngest gun to win it?
That would be Derrick Rose. In the 2010-11 season, he just captivated the league. He was so explosive, so athletic, fearless.
I remember that season. He was must-see TV.
Every single night, he led the Bulls to the best record in the league over LeBron's Heat. And he was just 22 years old.
22? That is absurdly young to be the best player in a league of men.
And sadly, because of the injuries that followed, he never reached those heights again. He is, to this day, the only MVP in history who is not considered a lock for the Hall of Fame, which is a really tragic footnote.
That is tough. And on the other end of the spectrum, who is the old man of the group?
Karl Malone. The mailman delivered in the 1998-99 season.
Oh, the lockout year.
The lockout-shortened season, yes. He won it at age 35.
Old man strength.
Indeed. He kept his body in immaculate condition and just outlasted all the younger stars that year.
Now, earlier you mentioned Kareem winning without making the playoffs, which is the ultimate outlier. But generally, you have to be on a top-tier team, right?
That is the golden rule of MVP voting. Generally, MVPs come from teams with 50-plus wins, or at least a top 2 seed. History shows that voters value winning almost as much as individual stats. If you score 35 points a game but your team is under .500, you're empty calories.
But there are other exceptions besides Kareem.
There are a few, if we exclude the shortened seasons. Moses Malone won twice in 1979 and 1982 on teams that were good but not necessarily juggernauts in the 60-win sense.
Okay.
But the modern outliers, the ones people really debate, are Russell Westbrook in 2016-17 and Nikola Jokić in 2021-22.
Westbrook was the triple-double season, right?
Right.
After Durant left.
Exactly. He averaged a triple-double for the first time since Oscar Robertson. The narrative of that statistical achievement was so powerful that it overwhelmed the fact that his Oklahoma City Thunder were only the 6th seed.
So history mattered more than seeding that year.
Voters decided that a historic individual feat mattered more than win percentage that year. It was a total reversal of the usual criteria.
Jokić.
Jokić in 2021-22 carried a Denver team that was just decimated by injuries. Jamal Murray was out. Michael Porter Jr. was out. He was playing with guys who were respectfully G Leaguers.
Right.
The voters recognized that without Jokić, that team might have been in the lottery. So value in that case meant carrying the heaviest load, even if the final win total wasn't 60.
That's a great segue, actually, because the face of who is carrying that load has changed dramatically. We have seen a massive, massive international shift.
Well, this is one of the most profound changes in the league's history. For the first few decades, this was an American award for an American league. The winners were born in Philly, Louisiana, New York, Chicago.
When did that start to crack open?
The door really opened with Hakeem Olajuwon. In the 1993-94 season, Hakeem became the first international winner.
The dream.
Now, context is important here. Hakeem was born in Nigeria, but he played college ball at Houston, and he became a naturalized U.S. citizen in 1993. But in terms of origin, in terms of where he learned the game, he was the pioneer.
Ned, who followed him?
Then we have Tim Duncan. Now, Duncan was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands and is a U.S. citizen, so it's a bit of a gray area. But for NBA categorization purposes regarding the growth of the game, he is often discussed in the context of international expansion.
And he won back-to-back.
He won back-to-back in 02 and 03. But then we started getting players who were truly from outside the U.S. system in a different way.
Right. Not guys who played in the NCAA.
Exactly. Steve Nash, born in South Africa, raised in Canada. He wasn't a freak athlete. He was a soccer player turned point guard. He won back-to-back in 2005 and 2006. Then Dirk Nowitzki from Germany in 2007.
And then recently, the floodgates just burst open.
Floodgates is the only word for it. If you look at the 2020s, it has been total, complete domination by international players. It's actually shocking when you write it all down.
Okay, let's look at the list for this past decade or so.
All right. Giannis Antetokounmpo from Greece, won 2. Nikola Jokić from Serbia, won 3. Joel Embiid from Cameroon, who, like Hakeem, became a U.S. citizen later in 2022, won 1.
And now Shai?
And now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from Canada, winning in 2025.
So we have had long stretches recently where an American-born player hasn't even touched the trophy.
Correct. For a while, there was a 7-year stretch where Jokić, Giannis, or Embiid won it. It speaks to the globalization of the talent pool. The best players in the world are no longer exclusively coming from the NCAA pipeline or American high schools.
It's incredible.
They are coming from academies in Europe, clubs in Africa, and gyms in Canada. There are 12 total MVP awards now shared by 8 international players.
Why do you think that is? Is the U.S. falling behind in development?
Well, there is a lot of hand-wringing about that. Some experts argue that the AAU system in America focuses too much on individual scoring and athleticism, whereas the European system focuses more on fundamentals, passing, and team play.
The cerebral side of the game.
Exactly. When you look at Jokić or Luka Doncic, who's always in the conversation, they play with a cerebral quality that is very hard to teach. It's not just about jumping higher.
It's wild to think that the best player in the world title has effectively left the United States for a significant period.
It has. And looking at the young guys coming up, Wembanyama from France, for example, it might not be coming back anytime soon. The global talent is here to stay.
I want to pivot to something that affects the modern game and the MVP specifically. The load management era. The league actually changed the rules recently to force guys to play.
Yes,
right?
this is the infamous 65-game threshold, and it has been incredibly controversial.
So how does it work exactly?
It became effective with the 2023-24 season as part of the new collective bargaining agreement. The rule is simple. Players must appear in at least 65 games to be eligible for the MVP.
And not just MVP, right?
It applies to most regular season honors, all NBA teams, Defensive Player of the Year, all of it.
Why did they do this? Was it because guys were sitting out too much?
Exactly. The league was trying to combat load management star players resting during games when they were technically healthy enough to play. It became a huge issue for fans and TV partners.
Right. The fans pay to see the stars. The TV networks pay to show the stars. If the stars are sitting out every back-to-back, the product suffers.
That's the league's position. They wanted to ensure that the most valuable player was actually on the court for the vast majority of the season.
Does just stepping on the court count? Can I sub in for 10 seconds, wave to the crowd, and leave, and that counts as a game?
No, they thought of that loophole. To receive credit for a game, a player must play at least 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay, that's a real shift.
However, there's a little bit of wiggle room. They allow 2 near misses where a player appears for 15 to 19 minutes. Those can count toward the 65.
Why? What's the point of that?
This covers scenarios where a guy gets into foul trouble early and has to sit, or maybe has a minor injury mid-game and has to leave.
Yeah.
It gives a little flexibility.
What if you get hurt? Like a real season-ending injury?
There are protections for that. For season-ending injuries, a player can be eligible with as few as 62 games. And there is a vague clause for bad faith circumstances, which is a bit of a catch-all for weird situations where a team might bench a player against their will, perhaps to tank for a draft pick.
But basically, if you play 64 games and you're the best player on earth, you aren't winning MVP. Period.
That is the rule. It brings availability into the definition of value. And we saw the impact immediately.
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid in the 2023-24 season. He was having a historic scoring season, averaging more points than minutes played, which is just insane. But he got hurt. He tried to rush back to hit the 65-game mark and ended up injuring himself worse. He was disqualified from the award.
It's a harsh line, but I guess I get the league's perspective. The fans want to see the stars.
And for historical comparison, it is really interesting. Let's look at Bill Walton. He won MVP in 1978, playing only 58 games.
Wait, really? 58?
58 games. Walton was so dominant when he was on the court that the voters just gave it to him anyway. They decided those 58 games were more valuable than anyone else's 80.
So under these new rules?
Under these new rules, Bill Walton, one of the greatest peaks we've ever seen, wouldn't have even been eligible. He would be completely erased from the history of that award.
Wow. That puts it in perspective. Okay, let's talk about the teams. We talked about the players, but which franchises have the most hardware in their lobby?
It's the usual suspects at the top. The Boston Celtics lead the way with 10 awards.
10? Who are they?
That is Russell with his 5, Bob Cousy, Dave Cowens, and of course Larry Bird with his 3-peat.
The Green Legacy. Makes sense.
Then you've got the Los Angeles Lakers with 8 awards. That's Kareem with 3 for them, Magic with 3, and then Shaq and Kobe Bryant with 1 each.
Only 1 for Kobe. That feels low.
That is a whole other deep dive for another day. Many people believe Kobe should have won more, particularly in the mid-2000s, but that was when Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki took those trophies home.
And the Sixers are up there too, right?
The Philadelphia 76ers are right there with 7 awards, a rich history. Wilt, Julius Erving, Dr. J, Moses Malone, Allen Iverson, and most recently Joel Embiid. They have a history of dominant individual scorers.
And Chicago.
The Bulls have 6, 5 from Jordan and 1 from Derrick Rose. The Jordan effect.
Now here's the sad part of the list. The droughts. Or rather, the deserts. Which teams have never had an MVP?
It is a surprisingly long list, and some of them might surprise you. The Brooklyn Nets, Charlotte Hornets, Indiana Pacers, Memphis Grizzlies, New Orleans Pelicans, Orlando Magic, Toronto Raptors.
Okay, a lot of the newer franchises.
A lot of expansion teams. But the one that always surprises people? The Detroit Pistons.
The Pistons? No way. They won 3 championships.
They did, but think about how they won. The Bad Boys in the late 80s were a defensive unit. Isaiah Thomas was their leader, but he was playing in the era of Magic and Bird and Jordan.
Right, he was never going to win over those guys.
He never had the statistical dominance to overtake them. And then the 2004 Going to Work Pistons were the ultimate team. They didn't have a singular superstar. Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, they were all great, but none of them were MVPs.
That really highlights the difference between best team and most valuable player. Sometimes those things align, and sometimes they're complete opposites.
Exactly. It's a fascinating dynamic.
So we've covered the hardware, the voters, the legends, the anomalies, the rules, the teams. What does this all mean when we zoom out? What's the biggest takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is the standard of excellence this award represents. We mentioned the Hall of Fame earlier.
Yeah, you said it's a guarantee.
Virtually. Every single eligible player who has won the MVP award has been inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame.
Every single one.
Everyone. If you win this trophy, you are immortal. Period. Derrick Rose is the only question mark because he is not eligible yet, and his career path was so unusual. But history suggests that the trophy is a golden ticket to Springfield.
That really puts it in perspective. It's not just a nice plaque for the year. It's a validation of an entire life's work.
It is the ultimate individual accolade in the sport.
Yeah.
There's nothing higher for the regular season.
So here is a thought to leave you with as we wrap up. We talked about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning in 2025. We talked about Jokić, Giannis, Embiid, Nash, Dirk. Are we permanently in an era where the best player in the American League is no longer American?
It is a totally valid question. The infrastructure for development globally has caught up, and in some ways, you could argue it has surpassed the domestic pipeline. The next face of the NBA might be French, or Canadian, or Australian, or Slovenian. The world champion title that the NBA winners get is finally starting to feel like it involves the whole world.
And what about that 65-game rule? Are we going to see a future legendary season? I'm talking 35 points, 15 rebounds, just total, undeniable dominance get disqualified from the history books simply because a guy rolled his ankle and played 64 games.
It is bound to happen eventually. It's inevitable. We almost saw it with Embiid. And when it does, the debate about value versus availability is going to explode all over again.
What's more valuable?
Is the best player the one who plays the most or the one who plays the best when he's out there? The league has made its decision for now.
I can't wait for the Twitter threads on that one. It's going to be absolute chaos.
It will be. But that's what makes the NBA so fun. The debates never end.
Thanks for diving deep with us on the MVP. It's a history of giants, bureaucrats, and global takeovers. We'll catch you on the next one.
Keep watching the games.